we understand there's an issue here, and we're just trying to work to figure out what's wrong. I'm going to say right now there's a lot of misinformation out there because they have not put out the right information from the fort. So when they don't do that, rumors spread, they get changed. So there's a lot of misinformation out there right now we know of. But what we want to do today is try to figure out how we can proceed to let the upper, in Congress or our senators and stuff like that know that we are concerned about what's happening out there. This affects the economical aspect of this valley, southeast Colorado actually. If Bentonville Fort loses all their tourists, or a majority of them, there's a lot of people not spending, hotel rooms, buying meals, gas, different things up and down the valley here. And while they're here, they see the other side. So, and these people come from all over the world out there. So, it's not only impacting us locally, but the people that come over here to see that site, and it's closed. It's not going to get some good press. So what we want to do today is just trying to figure out what questions we need to ask. And do you have any paper?
Yep. I'm making some notes.
Yeah, just if we decide on a question we want to ask or a thing, we'll write that down. We don't have to do the whole discussion.
Okay.
It goes from the NPS to signatures and all over. So get to them, send them your thoughts, your concerns, whatever you need. Let them know, at least to get something started or to stop to where they will move forward, not back.
Do you have a petition or anything? Would that be helpful, or do you think?
No, we don't have a petition.
Just individual letters?
Yes.
Individual letters, because I think the more paperwork they get on their desk is better than one with a bunch of signatures on it.
I don't know how many people have seen the Seacole News. All of us.
Yeah.
Steve here, he has a great letter in there, around any questions. And this other guy who worked there for summers, beautiful letter. I have a copy. I made a copy if anyone wants to read it.
So anyway, maybe cut the lights a little bit up front here. Okay, so what we're looking for is positive feedback on how to let them understand our concerns.
And possibly be part of a solution if there's
Yes.
some way we can help.
Right. It does not, everybody I've talked to, they're just appalled by what this assessment says. So I think we need to stress that we need a new assessment done to resolve some of these issues. I said we need to send it up the line. We need our senators to get this, the Secretary of the Interior, Bentonville Fort's boss up in Denver, different people like this. Like I said, we just need to let the people up the chain of command know our concerns and what we recommend. Like I said, I hope that our questions help them to understand how important our community and living history groups feel to better understand why we are so concerned on how this National Park Service manages our resources. manage our resources. Vincenzo Fort is our resource. Okay? We pay taxes, it is ours, as far as, you know, so we need to have a say-so in this. You know, and I think everybody here probably agrees to that, right? Okay. And a lot of this is provided by Seco News here, Adrian, right here.
Thank you, Larry.
And I want to thank you for all the stuff that you posted.
And this was written by Steve Kiefer, correct?
Part of it.
Yeah.
I have a question. When we write to our congressmen, our legislators and National Park Service people and so forth, can we use quotes from Steve's letter and Ed and Claire Lee's letter? Is that okay?
You have consent from Seco News to use any of the content.
Okay.
We
We
have it from
prefer you
Steve.
cite it
Okay.
as that it came from there.
Because
And-
both,
yeah.
you know, there's been so many well-written letters and posts. Linda and Larry's posts on Facebook were so articulate and just right on, and Ed and Claire Lee's letter and Steve Kiefer's letter, I was just blown away. I just thought, how much better could we write? I mean, it's already out there.
Ours really needed to have the authority that said under the name, member, Bensport chapter, SFTA. That should be there.
It is. I finally went back and said that we were not in control and didn't have any say-so. We just have the name. Because people were associating us with being able to do somthing.
Yeah.
And so I had to make that statement on our chapter.
I have another question too, is if you have not read the assessment, the evaluation that they did, you really need to read that. It doesn't take too long to read it, but it is so not based on anything from our community. And it was done by a firm in Texas that I'm not sure if they even visited the fort. I think maybe they did, but I'm not sure. And it's not clear. And the recommendations that they made, it seemed to us like that the fort had already decided to take those recommendations as a mandate. And it's not a mandate. And
So it's still just their recommendation, nothing's been decided?
yeah,
So
we don't,
Julia?
see, I feel like the Ford administration has not been transparent. Did any of you know that this assessment was being done?
No.
No. And why did they feel like an assessment needed to be done?
LaDonna, the review, right there, the question was asked, how can we better diversify the fort? And I'm asking, what kind of question is that?
Yeah,
We take
Okay.
great pride in diversity at that fort because it's a great melting pot, and we've always figured out that it's a great melting pot. With the Chinese, the Germans, the Hispanics, and Cheyenne people. All different kinds of people came to this fort. We make a note of it. Whereas they also evaluated the Machi. What's that? Japanese. Duh, that's understood. What's the Sand Creek massacres by? Cheyenne? Well, fine, that's diversity. But why are they bringing that up about
Okay.
Ben's Fort?
Well, these are the questions that's been brought up. I think about everybody here has that question. To kind of make this move along, we don't jump around different things here. We're going to get into a thing here, but I want to read them. I just got an email last night from Mrs. Gress. Carla Gress. Anyway, she's a descendant of St. Vrain. And she's part of our chapter. And anyway, this here is a response to her from Eric Leonard. The review in question was done by an outside consultant with extensive experience in historic site management. Okay, when I read that part right there, I'm not going to read the rest of it, that told me that this management company used a cookie cutter approach. They did not come to the site. They used a cookie cutter approach to solve the problems. They took some data and that was it. So anyway, and like somebody brought up, we didn't know about the changes until after this assessment was done. You know, we didn't know beforehand. They should have went out several months before and said they was going to do this. Okay. Okay, now here's some of the things that and I took this from Steve's stuff, literally. Well, actually, this here's from the assessment right here. They didn't do an official tour of the fort, but in the next sentence they said they toured the fort. So I'm confused. Did they actually come? They contradicted herself. She did not talk with multiple frontline staff members, or she did talk with them. We don't know who they are. And met with administrative staff. Tour notes, foundation documents, policies, and program scripts were shared with her in advance. So they sent her a bunch of stuff, and you know, I don't know what they was looking for to get done here. It's really confusing. During these conversations, one critical question emerged: how can we begin to diversify the methods of interpretation at Old Ben's Fort?
You can't even say Ben's Old Fort, it's Old Ben's Fort.
Yeah. Well, I cut and pasted here.
No, that was where it was.
A narrative of pros and cons were given for each of the items, and I just condensed this down to this little living history of the staff. There were 3 recommendations in that, and this, you know, when John Carson was out there, different people, they would dress up. That's what they're talking about, the staff doing living history. Okay, 3 recommendations, and I'm not going to get into all that because it's a kind of lengthy document. And if you want to read it, it's online. Adrian's posted it several times. Living history people, the volunteers, they had 4 recommendations on there.
But it's not the staff and the volunteer that wrote the recommendations, it's the prior assessment group, prior
Right,
consulting.
yeah.
It wasn't from the people involved.
Right. Okay. Living history in summary with 1 recommendation. And like I said, this is their things. And animal program, they really didn't have a recommendation other than
Do away with it.
well, I'm hearing different things
Lease
from different people that got letters
Lease the animal.
that they're not going to get rid of the animals entirely. They're just going to, through the winter months when it's difficult to take care of them and we're only working 3 days a week, we need to put them somewhere where somebody can take care of them.
Or they might lease them.
Or they might lease them down the road when they have an event. You know, we're going to go out and lease a cow and a horse or whatever, you know. So anyway, they haven't figured that part out. In the historic spaces, you know, they want to change some of the spaces out there to be more, you push a button on a screen and it comes up and tells you a short story type thing, or any of the different spaces. Because now you walk around and you look at it, you can kind of see how they lived back then, but it doesn't tell you a story verbally. So they want something that's, I guess, going to tell you a story on that. Okay. And this here's a statement by Steve Kiefer. It says, when we're doing this, there should be comments included with some of the questions. And when we got a question, we need comments why we're asking that question. You know, so they understand where we're coming from. So maybe the Park Service to understand what is happening and maybe provide for better management. A few of these issues go back to previous superintendent. We know that they did some of these things. I felt before our 2021 symposium that they was trying to make changes back then, but they kind of realized our symposium was a big deal, and they kind of put that on the shelf until we was done, I think, and then they just continued on with it.
Can I say something about that?
Sure.
Dealing with the symposium. Prior to the symposium, the administration did tell us that they had never worked with living history or living historians at all, and so they didn't really know what it was that we were wanting. But then, when they realized the success of that symposium and the living history that was at the fort, what did we have, 55 to 65 living historians from all over the nation were here. Then I had comments from the administration that said they had no idea how good that could be. And I just feel like after that, for a while anyway, it was like, oh, maybe this is a valuable part of Bent's Old Fort.
Yeah.
But then, it's been, 3-4 years now, and so, and new administration, and I think this might be happening all over the nation. We visited other national park sites where there's absolutely no interpretation, no living history, and it just seems to me like that we're losing some of our history by not having interpretation and living history on site.
Okay, I'm just going to jump down here to, that said, the site does not exist in a vacuum. It impacts the culture. Everybody read that? When one hires a consultant, it is especially important that all parties understand what is being asked for. Often it is in the consultant's best interest to shake things up so that they are seen as being valuable with those things in mind. Just like somebody told me, if they don't shake it up and change a bunch of stuff in their narrative, they're going to think, well, they didn't do a very good job of, so they kind of do this, Why was the consulting firm hired? Well, the one thing that this firm has done a lot of historic sites, so that was probably a big factor why it was hired. What were they asked to do? We don't know. Were they asked to determine what was being done right, as well as what is needed important? We don't know that answer either. So is there anything here that you might think of? What question would we want to ask?
Or put in your letters.
Yes, sir.
I think one of the main things that come to this area, that's one of the places that they ask, can we go to Bent's Old Fort?
Yes.
So when that becomes a video, and I can go on my cell phone and pull that same video off that you're telling me is going to be on a kiosk where I push the button, what are the odds that the next generation is even going to value hopping in a car and driving to Bent's Old Fort? As we change technology, that's wonderful. As we make things more accessible, that's wonderful.
Yes.
But when we lose the reality of live action, of live people, Leon could tell you how many times he's been there doing specific things, but I can tell you those are things that made our community, that our school children, that we ourselves got to see a blacksmith, we got to see Leon, we got to hear real-time music, those kind of things. So I just think it's going to be a tremendous loss, not only to the children of this community, but to the people that come here and want us to take them and explain to them. But when it's gone, it's gone. What we know is with technology, it's probably going to be a lot cheaper for the federal government to just send out a block of videos and let somebody look at it on their cell phone. But if a little child cannot see somebody hand milk a cow, taste the milk, or at least be around all of that somewhere, sometime in their life, they don't have that basis of knowledge to go on. And I hate to overbeat that one experience, but I can tell you, having taken numerous children there, that was an experience. Not to mention the teepees and the Native Americans, and when we went there were black cowboys. And some of the black children from school would say, black people were cowboys? Well, why sure. In the state of Colorado, they were some of the largest group of cowboys that we started with. And bringing that message of diversity that they're trying to fix, that in my opinion will be killed when we lose live action.
Yes, sir.
And right along those same lines too, long before this review, for one thing, they took away the children's program, the kids' quarters. So here I am explaining to my grandson who wants to know what he's going to be this year, and I'm telling him there's not going to be a kids' quarters. He's brokenhearted.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of kids that's brokenhearted because they cannot come here and be a blacksmith or be a carpenter or be an Indian or whatever. It's one thing to see other people doing it, but it comes home when these children can get in there and do the cooking or whatever else is needed. They learn, they come to love that fort. And because they love that fort, they want to keep coming back and someday become a historian like all of you folks, or be a volunteer, or even work at the fort. That's crazy. And another thing that has been going on too before this review came up is they took away that cart that runs.
Okay, we're getting area to cover here, so we don't want to get too much. So the question here we want to ask, do we want to ask the consulting firm the importance of living history, both staff and volunteer?
I'd like to ask him, what kind of things was Benzel Fort doing right? Living
Okay.
history being one of them.
Okay, that's a good question. What is Benzel Fort doing right?
What is the academic background of these people who are checking this out? What qualifications do they have to judge us?
In the living history, I would venture to say none, because this here is all business management type stuff that they're doing. They're looking strictly at money, cut corners, bean counters. Okay.
I have a question. I want to know what has happened in the past to make them come up with the decision that they're making about some of these things, like not staying in the rooms because there's no safety measures, when the living historians have stayed in there
50 years.
years, and we know how to do it. We're vetted first. That's my question.
So when we hire on this consulting firm, we want these questions of qualifications,
Scholastic background.
for historic
Yes, evaluation.
valuation.
Yes.
Okay, that's very good. Because if they don't have any, they can't, really should be able to,
They should not be judging us.
right.
I'd like
Okay.
to ask why? Why was there a need for
Yes.
an assessment or a review or whatever they're called?
Yeah. Well, that should be, yeah, this is why we're hiring you. Why are we hiring these people? We need to, there's a reason. We don't know the reason even. So,
Is it budget? Is it personnel? What is it? Yes.
I've been keeping my hand down over here. Okay, who is in charge of the National Park Service? Who is at the top? And isn't that who maybe a group should go to that, whether it's a board or an individual
Well,
person at the very top?
if you want to start at
and
the
ask
top,
those
it's the
questions?
Secretary of the Interior. Okay, that's the top guy. Okay, from there, there's, depending in the national park system, they have several different branches, and I can't tell you how to get there.
So
that's
they'll
right.
go and ask the questions from the top, and then they can work us down to the person who
Well,
will
I think
actually
you start at the
secretary.
top, make them aware of what working is about.
And to figure out at what level they decide on to have this study done and why a company out of Dallas would have been hired to do it, and how much did it cost? We as taxpayers have the right to know that.
Yeah.
Specific.
So,
If you go on your list too, you go under Charles F. Sams, he is the head director of the NPS. If you go onto the nps.gov, there's a contact.
I think I've sent to everyone.
I've sent down me too.
so anyway,
That's one.
so we want to know why the assessment is being done, you know, why we're hiring you. This is our reason, okay?
Sir, I've been waiting for years.